What's up, guys? Running it back with another replay, and it's going to be a bit of a stream highlight, actually. This is from my most recent stream of just learning Tomb Kings on ladder. You know, I'm decently familiar with them, but I really wanted to get down to the brass tacks with them and see what units did and did not work. I brought some pretty different builds throughout the stream, but as you might expect, you've got Cetra on the Kemrian War Sphinx, just a great lord, solid option, and very capable in just about every matchup. Not every single one you want to bring him in, but in quite a few you do. Just very meta right now, since the most recent patch gave him such great collision attacks on this beastie. And I've got some horsemen out here. They're very solid against the beastmen with their really good range. I mean, 140 is pretty crazy, actually. That's as good as most bow units in the game. And, I mean, it's on a very mobile cavalry unit here who can get some damage on the charge. You know, nothing to write home about, but pretty similar stats to Marauder Horsemen, and just with the benefit of having that 140 range and decent AP values on those bows. They're pretty nasty, especially against a low armor faction like Beastmen, where they can really take advantage of their mobility and DPS. Skeleton Spearmen and King Nakesh's Scorpion Legion moving up to the number 3. Cetra helping them out just in case. As you can expect, most of the Beastmen army is invisible. It is mostly Ungors and Ungor Raiders. But my opponent did bring the Eye of Morsleep here, which is a very fun unit. It's got Soul Eater, miscast chance, plus 50 on the entire battlefield, so Cetra's really going to be blowing himself up a lot. Warp Gaze as well. Snare is pretty good, and my opponent's summoning out another Cygor with Savage Dominion. Been a while since I've seen that, and it's going to start tossing some of these boulders in, doing some gnarly damage, man. You can see killing a bunch of skeleton spears with each of these tosses from both of those units, the summon and the eye. And Cetra looking for the fight, looking for the enemy targets. I did see these Chaos Warhounds. They weren't quite hidden in the forest. This is the CA version of the map, since this was on ladder, and some of these forests don't really actually hide anything, which is unfortunate. But I didn't see all the Ungors and the Raiders and everything. They're much farther back here, and I'm just kind of staying put. I've got 2 objectives. I don't need to exert myself in terms of micro right now. Not a lot I can do about the Cygor here, so I'm just sitting and enduring it right now. I did pop Shim's Burning Gaze on Malagor, and it did okay. It got about 300 health off of him, which isn't too bad. But, you know, certainly going to be looking for maybe a better target to fire that at in the future. Maybe the Bray Shaman of Death. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. Banking up a little bit of resources, I have brought out a Ushabti Greatbow. Very effective unit. Probably going to send it in against the Eye of Morsleep. I do believe is what I end up doing right here. And just trying to endure all these boulders, man. These Cygors have a lot of ammo, actually. Just pretty crazy. And this guy's not doing too bad. I mean, 74 kills, 263 damage, and firing at my Ushabti. Missing with that first boulder, but if he starts getting on target, those things do pretty nasty damage. And over here, my opponent moving up with the Ungor Spearherd. You know, getting a little bit impatient, I suppose, seeing that I'm not overextending and taking my units off of these objectives. And with the superior range, Ungor Raiders only having 115, staying out of range of those guys, firing in with the Horse Archers and doing some pretty good damage against these guys. Very important to kill Ungor Raiders in this matchup. They are an obscenely cost-effective unit at 425 gold in terms of cost. They have Stalk, so they can creep up on the battlefield wherever they please, and just fire in some pretty cost-effective volleys. They got a ton of models, and their missile strength is terrible, but that adds up pretty quickly. Am routing this unit, and these Horse Archers are going to be focusing down this other one in just a moment here. Some Ushabti moving up to provide some additional punching power here, and my opponent Definitely making a bit of a decision here to get the Chaos Warhounds to try and get on the Skeleton Horse Archers. Doing a good job of microing them away from the Ushabti, but Skeleton Chariots coming out, they're going to absolutely flatten those hounds if they can get a good charge off on them. And out here, Cetra doing a little bit of damage to some Zangors, having just a whale of a time. Taking a little bit of damage, though, from the Spirit Leech that the Bray Shaman of Death has been casting on him. But I have hit this guy with my own Spirit Leech from the Hierotitan. I did cast a Shem's Burning Gaze, and I don't know what happened. It just did not hit at all. Like, did 0 damage. And the Ushabti Greatbows are getting fired on from the Ungor Raiders, and actually taking a lot of damage from the boulders that this Cygor has been throwing at it. Actually pretty accurate, which is pretty scary. Casting Usirians here to do some extra damage. And you might be wondering why the tooltip is showing that damage per second, 750 of 150 up to 62, 125. Why is he doing extra damage? Well, the Hierotitan has Spirit Conduit, which gives plus 20% spell mastery, so a little bit more effective magic going in here for this mighty prince of the Tomb Kings. You know, Khemri demands, you know, exceptional performance for victory. Flattening those hounds with a good charge. They are not completely done in yet, though. And using the Skeleton Chariots to go after these Ungor Raiders who are trying to run away. But they're not going to get too far. Much faster unit with the Chariots here. Really starting to flatten these guys. Doing a lot of damage on the charge. This unit of Ungor Raiders getting counterfired by my Horse Archers. Doing a little bit of poke and return, but definitely a much more favorable trade for me. And Goreherds getting flattened by some Nehekara Horsemen and the Ushabti doing some good work against these guys, but they've got pretty good weapon strength. And if they don't break here, probably should have sat in here a little bit longer to make sure that they broke. They will get some good damage on the Nehekara Horsemen, who don't have the best armor in the world. But they are routing now. So, very favorable for me, getting some nice trades in the early going, but it's not overwhelming. I have certainly taken some pretty nasty damage on a lot of my units. Cetra is down to about half health, just getting worked on from the miscast damage, and also some Raider fire, a little bit of damage from fighting some Zangors, and Spirit Leech went down on a couple of times, so getting worked on a little bit, but nothing too terrible. Skeleton Spears are dying, but the Hierotitan, it holds strong. And up to 420 value, LOL. You know what to do, fellas. Get out there and blaze it. Running over the Zangors, frightening them to death, and they're going to be running for their lives. What is this magic coming out here? Usirians, showing a little inappropriately there, but being cast on the Ungor Spearherd. Not the best target for it, but, you know, I need to do a little bit of damage and just keep my opponent honest. Collapsing back here on the Tattered Warhounds who are trying to rally, just flattening them with the remaining Skeleton Horse Archers who are doing some nice work. Nehekara Horsemen in full effect here, and these Skeleton Chariots doing really nice, but getting countercharged by a horde of hounds. 3 units of them coming out here. Doing some pretty nasty work to them on the impact, actually. Which is very unfortunate for me. Getting overlapping fire from the Ungor Raiders and this Bray Shaman on the Razorgore Chariot, I believe. Doing some pretty nasty work, yeah, on the Razorgore. Those Razorgore Chariots, man, are pretty crazy. Nehekara Horsemen, I don't know what was going on there. I did give them a charge order, as you might have caught there, but they just didn't move. Not sure what that was about. So they're not doing too hot, but the Skeleton Chariot, it's got an okay value. Not quite paying for itself, but doing enough to give me a chance to maybe hold on to this objective. It is flipping to the Beastmen here, which is unfortunate. Thinking about pushing through onto this objective here, using the Ushabti summon to beat up on the Destroyers of Drakwold. And man, oh man, is this Ushabti getting nailed by that Cygor boulder. Didn't kill the model, though, which is nice. And down to his last stone there. 2 Cygor summons did go down. They've both dissipated at that point, getting some okay value out of them. Nothing too crazy, and killing another model with another boulder there. retreating back with most of my forces. These skeleton spearmen trying to get away and let the remainder of the Ushabti summon there do some damage. Cetra moving across the battlefield looking for a bit of a scrap, not really finding a great place to go. Ushabti getting some good damage on Malagor. These guys are pretty good against characters, actually, and you can see they're getting some good swings in there. The remainder of my Nehakara horsemen here, they're going down. They've done a little bit of, they've done some pretty effective work against the Hounds, despite missing their charge. And the Screaming Skull Catapult out on the field, messing up these Koroks Man-Rippers, who have gotten no value so far. I did manage to crush the Chaos Warhound for the third and final time with these Skeleton Horse Archers, who are coming in here, getting a nice countercharge on the Warhounds, doing a lot of damage to them, on the verge of breaking these guys' leadership, which would be pretty huge. But really nice play from my opponent, surrounding Cetra here, getting a little overzealous with them, and Centigors charging in here, magical attacks, saucing these guys up. And, yeah, man, making it a little bit hazardous for the Imperishable one here. Taking a lot of damage, down to 4,400 health, trying to get away with him. He's having a bit of trouble escaping, though. And gonna be trying to maybe save him here with my Skeleton Horse Archers, all of whom are out of ammo, all of whom have gotten pretty good value, too, you know. Just over their price point for paying for themselves. And folding in here, giving Cetra the freedom to escape finally, thankfully. But they're certainly going to be losing this combat in the long run. But if I can do damage to these Centigors with the Horsemen, that's going to be pretty nice for me. Popping Nero's Incantation just to give them a little bit of extra ward save so that they can do a little bit of extra work. And maybe get me a good position to fight from. Charging back in with Cetra. Going to try and get a terror out here on all these units. Doing a little bit of damage to the Harpies and Centigors, but getting Spirit Leeched yet again, man. Pretty gnarly stuff. Back here, I do have some sneaky snakes that have come out. They haven't gotten a chance to fire, unfortunately. The Destroyers of Drakwold. I have Morslave getting very aggressive here, going in on these guys. He is taking quite a bit of damage from their from the Ushabti Greatbows, who are just firing in on him. And the Halberds, if they turn and fight, will do some nice work against him as well. But the Destroyers of Drakwold being really annoying. One of the better units on the Beastman roster, actually. A pretty sticky spear unit. Crazy melee defense on these guys. And bonus versus large makes them pretty good. And they got poison as well. So very tricky unit, actually, to deal with. But the Hierotitan, it did pop the Spirit Leech here. And it's starting to look like it's wanting to get into combat. But Warp Gaze locking it in place for the moment. Not quite able to get in there. But a good restore coming down on the Eyes of the Desert to keep him nice and healthy. My Necrotechs, they're out on the field. And they've been healing some of the constructs up over time. All the use is done on this one. Popping it on the Hierotitan, I believe, most recently. One more restore in the back pocket here. And a bit of a collapse coming in for this objective. My opponent is playing very split, and he is pulling a bit of a value lead now, actually, which is a little hazardous for me. I am getting some Skeleton Horsemen into the back line to get rid of these Ungor Raiders here. Gonna chase down some Warhounds and maybe mop up a few of these units here, but Cetra, unfortunately, not able to get away from the Koroks Man-Rippers here, who have done some pretty good work sitting underfoot of him with the support from the Centigors of Tzeentch, Malagor. You know, not providing too much damage, but got Icons of Vilification for the leadership buffs, and Cetra is going to be going down here, unfortunately for me, losing my Lord. Very, very tricky, potentially. Definitely a way for these guys to get back in the game, the Beastmen at least, and losing those Skeleton Horsemen. Blackhorn's Ravagers taking some fire from the Screaming Skull Catapult and Harpies, landing on top of this crew. Gonna do my best to try and keep these guys alive by summoning out a chariot here that's going to go rolling through the Furies here, absolutely wasting them very effectively. Really nice stuff from the chariot, getting some okay value on that guy in the early going there, and the Skeleton Horsemen mopping up the units out here, while another Skeleton Chariot rolling around out onto the number 1, which I am starting to flip, charging in with some Nehakara Horsemen, doing some good damage on the charge, but the Beastmen Goreherds with shields and Zangors here, just overwhelming these guys. So trying to pull them out now, taking a lot of damage. I was really surprised at how much work was going in on those guys. But the Chariots getting a rear charge on these Centaurs. And another restore going down on the Eyes of the Desert. These guys being a bit of a honeypot for my opponent. Charging in with the Warhounds, who are also going to get crushed by these Skeleton Chariots once they set their sights in on these hounds. While the Hierotitan is moving up, going to be a great unit to have up here. Not flipping this objective right yet, but going to be able to in just a moment. Nehekara Warriors and the Necrotechs. Very good anti-infantry fighters. Decent melee attack and melee defense with a great bonus versus infantry. And only 600 gold, so loving life with these guys in here. Chariots folding into combat, smacking up these Goreherds. The Centaurs, Zangors, and the Warhounds all suffering pretty heavily at the hands of these Chariots, man. Really loving the performance of them the second go-around. They didn't do too bad the first time either, so starting to cap up that objective, and it is necessary because it is a close game. 11:20 to 11:02, trying to make this happen. Necrotech fighting the Chaos Warhounds, and some Skeleton Horse Archers coming out here, collapsing in on the Warhounds, doing some nice damage on the charge, going to be making their effect felt. While Malagor is trying to finish off the Ushabti Great Bows here, have gotten good work done. They did most of their work against the Eye of Morsley back here, who has finally fallen. This big old beastie was pretty incredible, honestly. Doing some really good work against a lot of units I wouldn't have expected it to perform so well against. And the Chariots up to 286 kills. Just terrorizing the Beastmen units right now. With the help of the Hierotitan, which is incredibly healthy. Terror-routing a lot of units and just being a genuine nuisance in combat. Very powerful stats on it. 57 and 46 is pretty great. It's gotten some pretty good value, not paying for itself yet, but it's got tons of room to do some more work. Lots of Skeleton Horse Archers back out on the field, moving the Sneaky Snakes up, trying to get some use out of his ammo, but they just keep getting dove on by the hordes of Beastmen. But I am finally starting to really turn the tide here. I do have this objective. I'm collapsing in on the Harpies with the Skeleton Horse Archers, doing some nice work, and the Necrotech over here. Done with the Hounds, and Malagor has killed the Ushabti Great Bows, but in the midst of that, I did drag him close enough to the Necrotech who's going to start working on him, you know. That bonus versus large against Malagor's melee defense and incredibly low armor. 360 weapon strength is actually kind of crazy for these guys, so doing some nice work with this fella. And if he kills the Dark Omen here, it's going to spell the end for the Beastmen. Their leadership is pretty haggard. He is routing. And what's going on over here? My opponent, I guess forgetting about some of these Centaurs, noticing them now after he killed the Catapult, in the Skeleton Chariots there. But starting to maneuver them out now. These guys have gotten 1,600 value, man. Crazy good work done there. And my opponent does throw the towel in there. Really well played by him, though. Just didn't really have an answer for this Hierotitan, which I really didn't think was going to end up being the unit that saved my bacon. I thought Cetra was going to be the MVP. He'd been doing work for me all day, but actually, it's the unit you don't expect that was doing some good work there for me at the end. So, really love to see off-meta pick paying off in the end. 1,200 on this guy, 89 kills, nothing insane, but you know, being very, you know, just being a huge titanic entity to try and deal with, and getting some good terror routes, like I said. You know, terror is very underrated in this, in domination right now, I think. You do see a lot of people bringing monsters with terror, but, you know, maybe not getting the best effect out of it at times. But I certainly got some good uses of it there. Skeleton Horse Archers doing great work. They were well on their way to paying for themselves that second time around, too. And You know, Skellies, just holding. They don't really do much more than that. Nakgar Warriors, about the same. You know, it's kind of hard for them to trade well into some of the Beastmen infantry, but my mobility did some pretty incredible work, including the Skeleton Chariot, man. I mean, 386 kills, 1,800 value. Definitely the MVP unit there at the end of the game. Just came in and was just going through swaths of infantry, taking them down left and right, scything through them like blades of grass, and, you know, profiting with all that. These Sepulchral Stalkers didn't get to fire like a single volley, I think, but they held their own in melee combat, and ended up getting some decent value, and, you know, just ended up being, like I said, a honeypot trap for my opponent. Continuing to dive these things while the Necrotechs just keep healing them up against the, you know, steady DPS the Beastmen can do. Nothing was there except for the Cygor that could take out models effectively. And I was able to shoot that guy down with the Ushabti Great Bows and some focus fire at the end there from the Skeleton Horse Archers. So, really nice work from all of my army, pretty much. You know, decent performance across the board. Certainly a little surprised Setcher didn't do too hot, but, you know, taking damage from the miscast is pretty painful from the Eye of Morsleep, and Beastmen do have a lot of good swarming elements to deal with them. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see y'all next time. GG's. Peace.